tell you one thing that's pretty much certain is that these guys aren't going to be called the white purples for very much longer. I don't think they're going to hit the shelves with that name, and we're right on the cusp of getting much more information about the shoe. And the reason I know that is because the people out at Sole Supplier in the UK, a site I go to a lot, have put a date on these guys, and it's coming real fast. Now this video is probably going to hit YouTube on May 2nd or 3rd. These guys are due to hit the stores on May 11th, according to Sole Supplier. Now that might be right, it might be wrong, but they do tend to be one of the first sites out there to give us those drop dates before anyone else. Now whether or not they're right or not is questionable, but that's the thing that we're hearing. May 11th, it's not far away, and I haven't even seen these guys on the upcoming Jordan release list, because usually the upcoming Jordan release list actually have the dates beside them, and these guys just don't have a date yet, except for Sole Supplier. Do they have it right? Is it going to be May the 11th? Is this video going to be right on that perfect timing of when the information starts to come out about these shoes? Or are they wrong and it's going to come a lot later? Either way, I'm right about these guys not being called the white purples when it finally comes for them to hit the shelves, because there's no way that that's going to happen. But what is going to happen is I'm going to take you through the shoe and give you some real classic insight into what it's made of, because it's got some unique stuff going on in the front leathers and in the back suedes, but then there's also a few extra things in there as well that you've got some sneak peeks at. And I want to take the uninitiated through a clever way that we can look at the medial and the lateral side and know which one is which at a very, very quick pace. So I'm going to do all that for you guys today as we take a look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Jordan 1 Low Women's White Purple. This is the Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel. Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel is my nature absolutely no day. My nature media design. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And usually it's looking forward, but I'll quickly look back to these guys right here. I think they're called Midnight Navy Jordan 3s, and they dropped a while ago. And I'm not a huge fan. Let's be really blunt. I've never picked up a pair of shoes anywhere other than at retail. It's not my scene to go doing that. I'm more about getting it at retail, the thrill of trying to get the shoes when they drop and then grabbing them, or not. If you take an L, you take an L. If you get a W, you get a W. And with those guys, I totally wanted them, tried my best to get them, didn't get my hands on them, but now I'm seeing them on the sneakers app, and they've been there for a while in a smaller size run. That people have maybe sent them back or returned them or whatever, but they're saying that they're in my size, and I'm like totally conflicted about whether I should get them or not. I know if I do get them, they're just going to sit on the shelves because they're beautiful shoes. I love my 3s. I have a beautiful pair of fire red 3s that are just sitting there because I can't bring myself to wear them, and I really don't know whether I should go ahead and pull the trigger on these guys. They're in my size, and I have beautiful shoes that I love. So I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to talk myself into shelling out more than $200 for them. And then there's another guy that's not come yet. I'll try and find a picture of it. The brush stroke swoosh on the side of the Air Jordan 1 Lows. I'm trying to find these guys drop date as well, because I want to bring that video to you. But until the drop date's there, I won't be touching them, even though they're a great looking shoe. Although I did do a few other things with that splatter line. I think it was a Blazer Mid, and maybe was it an Air Force 01 or something in that splatter line that I already did. But we'll get to that later. Right now what we're going to focus on is something that barely has a drop date, that May 11th from Sole Supplier. These guys today, the White Purple Air Jordan 1 Low Women's, and it's a beautiful shoe. It's got some really, really neat stuff on it, and the main thing that we want to look at is those materials, and then we'll get into a little bit more about the secret hits on there, and then that construction that tells you the difference between the medial and the lateral side at a very quick glance. So first things first, let's go into the materials. Now the basic main thing we want to be looking at is the that purple, and it doesn't even look like purple, but they're calling it white purple, so I've got to call it purple, that runs all the way through the front of the shoe, around the toe box, up the quarter line, across the laces, and then down into that ankle and heel support area. But it's split into two parts: the front half of the shoe all the way back to the top of the laces, and then that top bit back and into the heels is the two different parts in here. And we have to focus in on the materials on those, because they're very, very different, even though the colors look very, very the same. So the front half of the shoe, I think I managed to find a pretty good picture. That's kind of rare, to be honest. I haven't seen these pictures in that many places, and it really gives you a close-up look at that toe box and gives you an idea of the materials that are wrapping it around there. And it is your standard leather to those front three parts. Wrap on the toe box, quarter line, up the laces. Those are all done in the same standard style of leather, but they have a sheen to them. They have a sparkle, a sort of gloss to them. They are not in any way patent leather. I'm not going down that route. They're not as glossy as patent leather, but they do have a little bit of an extra hit on them to give them a kind of sheen, a little sort of shiny surface to them that adds a little bit of extra to the front half of the shoe. So the front leather is all the way back to that top of the laces there, in that beautiful purple, in that beautiful clean leather with a little sheen to it. And then we transition at the very top of the laces into that kind of ankle area and down into the heel. And we've traded out two things. We've traded out the sheen and we've also traded out the material. So the sheen is gone, lost that kind of glossy feel to it, and we're over to a matte feel. The reason that's in there is because we've traded leather for suede, and suede is a much duller material than leather, especially when the leather's been treated with that kind of gloss in the front. But then on top of that, that gloss that was on the front is now gone and it's been replaced with 1,000 perforations, which gives this a totally different feel to any Air Jordan 1 Low that I've seen at all. I've never seen this multi-perforated ankle and heel sort of support area also in that suede. So it's kind of an incredible play on the two front and back halves of the shoe with the different materials in the two different places. They could have gone with either material all over the shoe. So if that glossy leather that's at the front had run its length all the way to the back of the shoe, it would have still been fine. People would have been amazed by it. And equally, if it had been the suede with those perforations that ran all the way from the back to the front of the shoe, again, people would have been absolutely happy with that. But having both on there, it takes it to an extra level. So taking these shoes up a notch on the scale to be above your standard sort of Air Jordan 1 Lows. So the roughed, it's not really roughed up, but the sort of matte finish to the suede and the perforations at the back, and then the gloss finish to the leathers and the shiny at the front. So it's a great look to those two parts of the shoe. And then right between them, you've got some interesting hits going on, especially when we look at the swoosh. The one thing, well, there's kind of two actually, two things that I really focus in on the swoosh. Number one is it's black and it's made of standard leather materials. They haven't gone with any kind of gloss on there. They didn't go with suede or anything like that. It's just your standard black swoosh. So I think that's okay though, because there's so much attention given over to those purple materials front and back that having a standard leather swoosh on the side makes sense. But they have gone one little extra and put in white stitching around the outside edge of the swoosh. Now they could have gone with purple or they could have gone with black. To be honest, I'm kind of glad they went with white. I think it works just right. I think purple would have been too lost in the black, and of course black would have been completely lost in the black. So having that white stitching on there gives it a little bit of pop, especially against that white midfoot section. So the swoosh is doing it for us. But then we get into two final sort of areas of the shoe where we have to be a bit detective and trying to find out what's going on. And what I'm talking about is the Wings logo on the heel and the Jumpman that's up on the tongue. So first things first, we'll trade out and go to that Wings logo, and you can see from a side view, it's of course, like I said, it's the suede, perforated suede on there, but you can see the Wings logo is done in black, which fits the rest of the shoe, especially because the lining's done in black as well. So the black Wings logo on the back works in alongside that black swoosh, but not roughed up suede, but perforated suede is not an easy material to either adhere something to or to stitch something into, because it's so soft that it's very difficult to get a clean kind of fit on that Wings logo. And you can kind of see on the shot that I'm giving you here on the green screen is that Wings logo, it looks a little bit less detailed than we would be normally used to with the Wings logos. And then up higher from that, we go up to the tongues, and you're probably thinking, right, how on earth are we going to see what's going on up there when we haven't got the official pictures yet? And you can actually see it though with this tight sort of angle here. You see the Jumpman, a little, maybe 10%, but it's enough to go on. It's enough to know it's a Jumpman and nothing else, because sometimes Nike does like to play with their branding, whether it's Nike or Jordan or Jumpman or whatever up there. In the case of these guys, they've gone with the Jumpman, and then also it's in the purple to match the rest of the shoe, which is a question, because the black Wings logo on the back, it could have been a black Jumpman up there to match the swoosh as well, but instead what you've got is the white tongues and then that purple Jumpman on the top. And then the last thing to do is to get into that outsole and talk about the jet black outsole on these guys. And I talked about this in a dunk video recently, that because of the structure at the front of the shoe with the circle, the that sort of expands out onto the lateral side and restricts in onto the medial side. When you're looking at pictures and you look at this here, you can see that the little grooves that come out on that expanded lateral side are visible on the midsole coming out of that outsole. And then if you flip it over to the medial, you can see that those grooves have definitely been pared down because of the design of the outsole. And that's a question I often ask myself when I'm looking at these things, because I thought when I looked at the pictures of these guys that all they'd done is they'd inverted the lateral side picture to make it look like the medial side. But you can just look at that tiny little detail down where the midsole meets the outsole to see it is a different construction, which means it is an authentic medial side to the shoe. And with that being said, it's time to finish up this authentic video about the Nike Air Jordan 1 Low Women's White Purple. Like I said, I think the name's going to change. I don't know if that May 11th is going to come true, guys, over at Soul Supplier, but I appreciate you guys going out early and giving us that kind of detail to go with. But speaking about going early, it's time for me to wrap this one up nice and early, because it's kind of early in the day for me, and I'm going to get this one tucked away and then be able to, you know, enjoy the rest of my evening, which is something I don't usually get to do very often with a 3-year-old running around. So with that being said, it's time to say farewell. Thanks for checking out the content, and I'll do the same thing that I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you that I do this every single day, so you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.